Today in Stockholm, which is the capital city of Sweden, continues the battle of generations. Levi Rosman, also known as gothamchess, takes on the Swedish chess legend Pia Kramling, who is also a mom of one of the most famous content creators, Anna Kramling. And it's a very unique match because it combines three time controls, classical, rapid, and blitz. And today it was the second out of 4 games in the classical segment. Levi was playing with a black color, trying to recover after yesterday's painful loss with a white color against Pia Kramling. So this game started with d4. d4 is Pia Kramling's typical choice. She really likes to open the game with the queen's pawn, even though Levi recently made a video that he played against Pia Kramling's bot on chess.com, and the bot really liked to play e4. This is definitely not how Pia plays. Here, Levi decided to play d5, so I think it was a good idea after the loss yesterday not to immediately jump back and try to prove that he has to fight back and score a victory on demand. This is still a match situation, and with the black color against a very solid player, sometimes all you need to do is just to get a solid position in the opening and then see what happens. So here white played knight f3. Normally this is a precaution move, because if white would start with something like c4, then Levi already has been known to sometimes to accept the pawn with d-takes on c4, and typically these positions can lead to some sharper game. For example, white plays something like e4, black can play b5, white plays a4, black plays c6, and here we go. It's very, very sharp. So that's why knight f3 is a precaution move to play c4, so maybe I could show the difference here. White plays c4, d-takes, e4, then black has one of these opportunities to play e5. Very popular way to fight for the center, and after d-takes, play queen d1, play knight c6, and have a good development. So this move knight f3 just eliminates this possibility, so the point is after knight f6, now she plays c4, because now after d-takes on c4, white can play something like e3, and black no longer can play e5 because knight protects the e5 square. So here Levi played e6, Pia played knight c3, which is a very ambitious way to play it out. Obviously there's huge theory. Levi has played a couple of setups. Here he played a6, which is a very popular way to treat the queen's gambit declines recently. The idea for black is to play d-takes on c4 and hold on to the pawn with b5, and basically this forces white to do something about it. Because if here white plays g3, a very principled way to play some sort of a Catalan, pretty sure that black has to accept the pawn, d-takes on c4, bishop g2, b5, and this leads to very unbalanced game after knight e5 and rook h7. And again, Pia is not that kind of a player. At least when she is leading in a match, she doesn't desperately need to win the game, so entering such a sharp game is not really her plan, and also playing something more positional as e3 probably is perfectly playable, but then again, it closes the docks with bishop. And one thing that Kramling really likes is to play the so-called cuspid structure. That's why here after a6 she tried to undermine this move a6 as a potential waste of time, even though this is still theory, of course. c-takes, e-takes, and then bring out the docks with bishop and close the position, at least the center, with e3. Levi played bishop e6 here. Again, there's some theoretical trends here. One of the trickiest continuations is queen b3, where white is threatening to take on b7, take on f6, and win a pawn on d5. But of course, Levi knows this, that here there's this tricky move, rook a7. If I'm not terribly mistaken, just a second, maybe I'm slightly mixing up. e3 here, no, I'm pretty sure it was rook a7. Yeah, here the point is that after bishop takes on f6, queen f6, knight e5, queen d8, e4, black plays c6, and all of these complications simply lead in favor for black. The king is weak, and white cannot go here without a lot of risk. Again, this is not how Kramling plays. So she played e3, allowing black to play knight a7. Now this pawn could always be easily defended with rook b8 or rook a7. Here, white played bishop d3, a typical way to play out this position. Levi played h6, and now basically it doesn't matter where white retreats. White could play bishop f4 or bishop h4, and then Levi would still continue with the same move that he played in the game. So bishop h4, g5, and bishop g3. Now, if black does this, he has to play knight h5 and eliminate this very powerful docks with bishop. So if Kramling would be unhappy about this choice. Instead of allowing this, she could play h3. Now this would allow her to escape with the bishop on h2. Again, this idea h6, g5, and knight h5 would be now ridiculous because the bishop always escapes here. And now the game is quite interesting because black could try to make sure that this bishop never lands on f4. Let's say white plays here, bishop d3. Black typically plays, let's say, h6 or c6, but the problem is that white can play bishop f4. And actually this position is not really so great because even though white has double the pawns, f5 is a very big threat, trapping the bishop, and also knight e5 is not really that easy to deal. For example, somehow you deal with this knight. Let's say you play something like g6, white plays knight e5, and even if you trade it, you see you simply fixed white's pawn structure, followed by something like a 4 or 5, and white's position is simply much better. Stronger bishop and terrible bishop for black on e6. But bishop d3 again is a playable move, and now after h6, g5, and knight h5, Levy wants to kill the ducks with bishop. And if Pia here will play something like queen c2, then I think that Levy wants to trade his bishop, h6 on g3, and just play something solid. There could be a move like c6 or maybe bishop g7. Let's say white plays a castle, black plays something like a castle, b4, c6, and the game is very unbalanced and exactly the way that Levy likes to play. So if white opens up the position a bit too much, then the ducks with bishop on g7 becomes an incredibly powerful piece. And if white plays a4, b5, again black has a couple of ways to parry it, maybe even something like b5 and anchor the knight on c4 for a lot of interesting ideas. So what happened here was quite unexpected to many. So Levy's opponent Pia first played bishop e5, and now there's no choice for black. There's no f6 obviously, this weakens the king too much, rook g8 makes no sense, and knight e5 also is not great, because after knight e5, here black could play knight f6 since the knight on h5 is under attack, and white simply keeps the better position with something like f4. So black has problems to ensure king safety, white is simply controlling the game without a lot of risk. So that's why after bishop e5 here, black plays knight f6. Alternative choice is also to play knight g7 with the same idea, so black is threatening to play g4. So white again has difficulties to react to this. For example, white would play something like a short castle. Now black can play g4, and if this knight retreats, white actually can get worse. So think about bishop g7, c6, queen e7, long castle, and black can start to think about the king's attack. But first, the pawn on d5 is in serious trouble. So here, for example, after g4, if white would take on f6, queen f6, and knight e2, again, typically think about bishop d6, long castle, h5, h4, and black is having a lot of fun at the king's side, which probably could not be said about white. So that's why after this knight f6, the position simply repeated. And after bishop e5, maybe Levy could have tried the same idea with knight g7, again threatened to play g4, for example, short castle, again g4, the idea is to take on e5, and bishop g7, again, black gets a very comfortable position, and this is how the game ended. So knight f6, bishop g3, the game was agreed by a truffled repetition. Now this was quite surprising, and I think also the commentators, Anna Crumling and Alex Ostrovsky, they quite didn't expect it, but as Alex correctly noted, this was a pretty good result for Levy because he had a very terrible tournament in New York, only 2 points out of 9. Yesterday he lost a very, very nice position with the white color. That's why a quick draw with the black color is definitely going to add to some of his confidence. And then tomorrow with the white color, again, he can give it a try to fight for the win. For Pia, it's just a good result. I mean, she won her game yesterday with the black color. Maybe she felt it was not really deserved. Knowing Pia is very humble and very, very nice, so she felt that, okay, maybe it's a good idea also to take a breather. So essentially with this quick draw, everybody is happy. So that's it, quite the quick draw. I definitely wasn't expecting this, but I think this is essentially quiet before the storm, and we are going to get more action tomorrow with the third classical game of this very long match. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please like, subscribe to my channel, and also leave some comments. What do you think about the match? Thank you for watching.